obviously being an artist, like you've been a creator your entire life. Obviously, you're into acting and a lot of other things and stuff too. Like in terms of like ownership, IP, right? Like intellectual property, the stuff that you work on and stuff. Like, can you talk a little bit about what that's like in the music industry, right? Like you're an artist, like what are the economics of like how it goes from, you know, pen and paper to, you know, inspiration to then dollars, right?
Right. Well, there's multiple ways to make money as an artist. You know, you have the writing, intellectual property, which I could write a song for you and nobody has to know who I am and make probably more money than you if you're not a touring artist, right? Or you can be an artist who writes your own songs, produce your own music and tour and make all of the money, right? So there's multiple different ways to make money. I find, for me, it's kind of a balance of all of them because I'm a writer, I'm a performer. I own my own music now. I was signed to a major, but now I'm independent. So I own my own masters, which reverts back to me after 2-3 years. You know what I'm saying? So I could sell my catalog if I wanted to, and you know, partner and sell it. But I don't believe in selling your full catalog. I'm like, hold on to some of your stuff. Telling one of my homies of it, I say, hold on to some of your catalog. I know them M's look pretty, but hold on to at least half of your catalog because you don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
No, and you kind of touched on it lightly in terms of social media. We have an app that we're building and on your intellectual property. Obviously, we're in blockchain, in crypto, and shoot, new money by CoinDesk.
Facts.
Thank you. But how do you see that potentially, the blockchain space potentially impacting the music industry, especially because you're somebody that obviously owns your catalog? So.
You know, from what I understand about blockchain, I look at everything kind of from the macrocosm to the microcosm. And I think that some of the most intelligent people and people who actually influence the world the most look at things like that. So when I started understanding blockchain, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like the first DNA for technology. It's DNA, basically. The way you look at it is like you can mirror it to the way human DNA is. It's like, it's these blocks and chains that carry information and it's locked into a certain sequence. And right, so you can pretty much apply it to anything. I think the issue comes down to educating people on it, you know, and you kind of can alleviate the middleman, but at the same time, because one song, so many people have to get paid sometimes, you still have to have those societies that collect money. So it's about how do you get and figure out how to work all of those into the, you know, the space, and then what cryptocurrency do you use and what makes the most sense for that space. I mean, I think this is the beginning of it, of educating people.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a good point too, because like there's also going to be resistance from all those people that are currently getting paid.
Facts.
Always. Right?
Facts. Always. Because what blockchain does, now you could literally create a direct relationship from an exchange standpoint from fan to artist. Whereas though the transaction, oh, you like this song, you want to stream this song, you pay me directly, blockchain, boom, you got that, right? But now, how do we pay the producer? How do we pay the writer? How do we pay, and it, you know, it still has to be, everybody's not gonna want to run their, you know, their business.
For sure, and I think actually one of the things that is good with where the technology is going, and because it's verified and trusted, there are going to be platforms that have the speed, scalability to be able to kind of like shoot off the fractional shares and the royalties to those individual wallets and things like that, so everybody can get.
Creating? That's what y'all doing?
That's what y'all doing? I mean, hey, look, I'm also going to plug one more partner, Hedera Hashgraph. They're one of the best layer ones out there, but we can get into some of that later. But yeah, I mean, going forward into the future, that is something that we want to have implemented.
I think that it can be and will be a part of the future if once it's proven and people see it like on a mass scale. Maybe it starts small, maybe it starts with just retail or something like that, so that the masses can understand it. And then now it's like, oh, now that the masses understand it, boom. Was over the music, they love consuming music. Oh, it's the same concept? Yeah. Now we got it, like, you know what I'm saying? So one scary thing about it to me is, and I'm not a fearful person, but I experienced this, so I'm gonna speak on it. There was a specific, I don't want to speak on like super detailed, but there was a specific couple of transactions I was making with cryptocurrency, right? And I literally, the money disappeared. Like it was a transaction that happened and I could not get it back.
Really?
Yeah. But we can talk about that. Okay. But has that ever happened to y'all before?
It hasn't happened to me. So
have you heard stories like that?
I want to hear about this off camera.
Yeah.
I want to hear about this off camera.
It was crazy, bro. And so I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm gonna just let it sit. But like,
I think that goes back to your point, though. It's the educational aspect of it, right? Like, it's not purely just value, right? Like when you think about blockchain, it's a technology. It's not just money, digital money.
No,
it's a very big part of it
because you can use it in multiple different. Yeah,
exactly. And so like for even someone like yourself that has a ton of IP and crazy fans, right? Like there's some collectible items that you have that can be brought to the blockchain that would catch fire, quite honestly, right? Like, and I think that's kind of like what the one thing that Spencer and I, and like obviously just like being in the space, but then also touching creators and like having shows like this and stuff, and the discovery aspect of it is we see kind of both sides. Like we see the sides that trying to understand more about it, and then we also have had the ability to like be into technology for a long time.
Facts. So let me ask you guys a question. As lovers of music, how as a fan of music, how do you see yourself consuming music partner with the technology of blockchain? Like, what do you think? How will blockchain make it easier for you as a music consumer?
I know Spence got answers.
No, so I'm gonna say one. You are the first person on our show that's asked us a question,
which is.
That speaks to being a wise man, because I say really truly wise people know what they know and know what they don't know, and are willing to ask questions and have a dialogue. I mean, I think for me, it actually comes down to the royalties. That's to me what will be the biggest thing, right? If you own your own music, but you know that you want to have like these other parties that need to get paid, but right now they're taking too much of the cut, major record labels, whatever. You have this same type of direct relationship, right, with NFTs and things like that, where you can get straight to your fan, but you also have that verified way where the other people can get paid, and everybody can see it on the blockchain, so everybody knows that they're not getting screwed. You know what I mean?
Like publicly verifiable.
Right. I think the issue would then come in is to how much, because that's ultimately what we're dealing with now with, with streaming services, right? Before there was a standard in the industry of how much you would get on a project, what the royalty would be. But when you take it over to streaming, they just put it all into one pot and said, okay, $3 come off top and $7 goes to the artists, the publishing companies, yada, 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 right? So now switching that over to blockchain, it would now then have to be reconfigured to make sense financially for artists that are signed to labels. I mean, artists that are not signed, it may be a little easier to.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's gonna be interesting, because I don't know how flexible the major labels will be. Will they allow their artists to do it? Now for the independents,
it's huge.
Hey, look,
it's big
we can get straight to the fan and get to this money, and so and that's
but
where,
that's gonna but because the labels for now have a bigger monopoly on the industry, because they have the catalogs of like, all the great artists. The standard would still have to come from them, unfortunately.
So it's something that's going to take time, right? Like when you think about it too, because like what you're pointing at too, and it's great when you have these conversations, is like you're pointing to the idea of centralization, right? Like the fact that those entities right now, as it's currently structured, do control the way in which that we consume this stuff, right? But over time, that stuff can change. The same thing with social medias, right? Like, at this point in time, people are reliant on their incomes from a third party like a YouTube or a TikTok or whatever, and things like that. And so like, things like what we've worked on, creator platforms and other stuff to allow that peer-to-peer relationship so the creator can own themselves and their IP and all that stuff, it could be brought into that same way. But to your point, like,
talk a little bit about that.
It takes time.
Talk a little bit about what you guys have created.
Yeah, I mean,
what's your company called again?
Galaxy.
Galaxy, right?
Yeah, so Creators Galaxy with a C. Shout out. But no,
they're gonna start selling planets on there soon.
Hey, Lil Uzi, bought a planet.
Right.
Saw that, but not. Anecdote on that point, when you talk about major record labels or centralized parties like the NBA. So in 2018, when I started the process of tokenizing my contract, the NBA said no, right? And they didn't say no for, necessarily the most valid reasons. It was more so like them being scared of me kind of like doing some new stuff. And so they kind of put out that, they're gonna kick me out the league and sue me and all this other stuff. And so it was some fear mongering in there. Now, point to the camera, listen, the NBA is my partner now. We do Dapper Labs and Top Shot together. Those are my people. I love you, Adam Silver. So if you're going to watch this clip, watch the entire clip. Don't soundbite me. But in 2018, it was a whole controversy over me getting into the technology.
Wow.
And had to kind of fight that battle and take some of those bullets. And I think it's going to take, you know, and granted, I'm no like LeBron.
Are you the first artist? Like,
yeah, I was the first basketball player to do it.
Who's done it so far?
Only basketball player to do it.
Wow.
And so now you see some football players doing it with like partnering with FTX and doing different things.
No, now did you do your whole contract or part of it? Like,
so I was going to do the whole thing, and then when the NBA stepped in, it was like,
no,
screw this.
Yeah,
everybody got kind of scared, so I decided to do 10% of it.
Okay.
So we still did it. It went through. It's live now. It's on blockchain. On Ethereum, you can look at it and see it and all that stuff.
So it's basically, you just basically took 10% of your contract public.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, so the way basically it works is like from his perspective, and it's when you think about monetization and creator platforms, the way you make money is like, for him personally, he's able to unlock trapped liquidity, which is like a fancy way of just saying like, he has money in his contract that's coming later, let's bring it to time zero.
Got
right?
it.
And he turned it into an investment vehicle.
Got it.
You know, you pay a certain amount of interest on it, but it's usually very favorable. You know, his cash flows are publicly verifiable. People know how much he makes because he's in the NBA.
And also you have bonuses and people play well. And they can kind of, it's about also including them in the journey too, right? So like, you know, and this not necessarily how mine works, but in the future as it continues to go, like let's say I hit 100 3-pointers in a season, and that's some kicker, right? And now the fans also get to split this kicker with me, and so now they're like, oh man, like I want Spencer to hit this three, and so you get that engagement. And remember, like as an entertainer, both of us, I mean, obviously on different sides of the spectrum, but the fans are why we were able to do what we do. Like if we didn't have fans, like if nobody watched NBA games, I would probably be in real estate or something. You know what I mean? I would not be doing this, not full time, at least I play in the park, but I wouldn't be able to make a full-time living if it weren't for the fans. And same way with music and acting, right? Like if they weren't watching your movies or watching your shows or listening to your music, then you'd have to pick another career or another endeavor. Like it may be a passion project, but you couldn't do it. So that was the whole premise of what we were doing, and also what we're building on the app now too. It's about decreasing the barrier, you know, from creator to fan, and whatever's special and important about you. So it could be singing or acting, it could be basketball, it could be, you know, a weightlifting class, because obviously he's buff as can be. You know what I mean? But just decreasing that barrier so you can have an authentic interaction, and you know, creators can get paid for that, where it's not, you know, a Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is, basically strangleholding that relationship and saying, well, you'll only get the pennies on the dollar or a label, or the NBA you'll only get the pennies on the dollar that you deserve. So that's what it's about.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. It could apply to the music industry in a lot of different other industries as well. So it's
I mean,
the digital art that could be created from the album art that you do. Like we see a lot of artists looking to try and do that and have come to us.
But in the NFT space.
NFT space, exactly, and stuff. And that stuff is going to be what helps people understand the technology. Like, oh, it's not just this money I don't see or whatever. You know, it's a lot of different other things that technology can be used.